You were working 126 hours a week, and now you do about 12. I think that's a story people need to hear, don't you?
You know, it's an interesting one, Stuart. And for me, it was tough going 120, 18 hours a day, 7 days a week, 100 days in a row. And then I got the weekend off. And then it was back into the crazy pot again. So it was tough times, physically and mentally.
Okay, well, before we talk more about what you did for that, tell us a bit more about your background.
So I left school having told my careers advisor back in the day that he asked me, "What are you going to be, Panas?" And I said, "Well, I'm going to be a millionaire."
Right.
And he said, "Doing what?" And my answer was, "Doesn't really matter what, just be a millionaire," because I didn't know anything else.
Yeah.
I certainly didn't want to do what he was doing because he didn't look really happy, you know. So I took my first job was a butcher. Then I went into retail. I discovered I loved working with people. Um, but that side of things, the further you go up, the more of your life they own.
Right.
You go from being paid by the hour to being salaried, and the people you're looking after are actually earning more an hour than you are because you're doing loads of crazy hours.
The
And
retail
then,
side of things.
yeah, yeah, definitely. And then self-employment came my way. Firstly, as a DJ, and then a few other business. I've had that many different businesses. I've always been searching for something, but you don't always know what you're looking for. Sometimes you stumble across them.
Okay.
Um, and yeah, and it's been a good journey, challenging, definitely challenging. And often the businesses have actually owned me when I look back now.
See, that's interesting, isn't it? So we were talking before this recording about Rich Dad Poor Dad and the cash flow quadrant. And
Yeah,
for those that are not familiar with it, you've got an employee quadrant, you've got a self-employed quadrant, you've got a business owner, and you've got an investor. Now, self-employed is where, let's say you are a window cleaner and there's just you, then you basically are the business and you own your own job effectively. And I think that's what you were telling me, that ticks the box for what to describing what you were doing before.
pretty much. I thought I had a business before I'd come across Robert Kiyosaki, and yeah, I thought I'm doing it. I'm doing it. I'm living the dream. Actually, it was a bit of a nightmare because I was working crazy hours and it became the norm. It was standard. I didn't know anything else. I thought, is this not what you do?
Right.
I'm a dad. I've got to look after the family. You've got,
Yeah,
you've got
yeah.
these responsibilities. So you do whatever you do and you get carried away with it sometimes and just end up yeah, crash and burn is where I came to at that point when I
Really.
ended up doing 126. Yeah, I'd gone through a really dark time. Some things happened in my own life, and I'd got to the age of like 50 and
Yep.
lost everything. And you kind of like that's hard to deal with. And there's a lot of people these days are getting close to that point or to that point. And I had to make a decision to go away for a contract,
Uh-huh.
doing a job that I really didn't know what I was doing. I blagged my way into it because I needed the money. And I was working, and this sounds crazy when I say it now, but that 126 hours a week was 18 hours a day, 7 days a week, and 100 days in a row. And then I got a weekend off, but then I just started again.
That's
Bonkers.
crazy. How do you survive that?
You know something, you don't, and you end up, and the guys I worked with, there was a lot of people. Some of them were doing 80. I was needing the money, so I just did all the extra hours that
Yeah.
was going. You work in day, you work in night. You're in a blur. You just there's 6 hours to eat, do the mucky stuff, and get washed and sleep. That's it.
Yeah.
And you just every day is the same. But a friend of mine showed me this business in those little nooks and crannies that I had.
Uh-huh.
And I started literally messaging in like breaks when nobody was looking. I'd be messaging, dropping and gathering little bits and pieces. So I often hear people say, I don't have time. And I'm thinking, I was in that same position, probably worse than most. But for me, I had to make the time, or
Okay.
else I would still be doing that now. And I probably wouldn't be here right now. It
So when you
consumes your
say
life.
this business, you mean utility warehouse. So you became a partner. I just want you to tell us that story about your first day when that person introduced you. You just mentioned to me before the call about the story
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
Yeah. It was really funny. So I jumped back. It was my kind of few days home, and my friend Ian, bless him, he called me up, and he used to work in local government. So I'm thinking, what's he doing? But his daughter, and this is really interesting. The actual reason I joined was to support my friend.
Okay.
Odd one, because that's what you do, right?
Yeah.
So he said, "Look, meet me in a coffee shop, 7 o'clock. I've got something to show you." And I went along, and he showed me how the customer proposition works. And I went, "Well, for me, that's a no-brainer." And he said, just flippantly, "You could do this." And I'm thinking, well, where would I find the time? But do you know something? I could recommend this.
Yeah.
And I signed up as a partner as well as a customer. But before I left the coffee shop, I intuitively phoned my mate and I went, "Hey, big fella, stick the kettle on. You've got to see this." And he went, "Yeah, no worries." So it was just an assumptive thing. But I dragged Ian with me because I didn't have a Scooby Doo what I was doing. It's a bit like we've got supporting now, but we didn't
Yeah.
really have it then. But that's what I used. And listen, he joined as a customer and gave me a handful of referrals. Um, some weren't interested, some became customers, one became a partner, and boom, and that was a start.
Well, that shows you're a self-starter, doesn't it? The fact that you were like, I don't know what I'm doing yet. I'm just going to go out there and talk to people. And you went and got the appointment. You dragged along the guy that had signed you up, and it does show. I mean, he was probably not that much longer in the business than you, but what's the expression? One of the directors of the company used to use it: "In the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king." And he knew a little bit more than you. He knew enough to get you in the coffee shop and enough to get come along and support you, and that's fabulous.
For sure. For sure, yeah. And it's always that thing about start where you are with what you have. Start anyway.
Yeah.
You don't have to know it all. Um, I still don't. I still don't.
No, me neither. And it's been 17 years nearly. So I completely agree. So you were still working all those long hours. As you said, you were fitting this in the nooks and crannies of your day, a few minutes here, a few minutes there. Life's moved on since then, though. So you managed to make it work, even though you were busier than most people would consider to be busy. How did you manage to get from there to here? And what does it look like now?
So it's completely different now, but it's that thing. You change the set of the sail. You don't. Life didn't change like that. I didn't just join and somebody sprinkled pixie dust on me and everything was. So to start
Yeah.
with, I reduced my hours to 100 hours a week, which for me started to be that was like part time.
Mhm.
And then as this started to pick up a bit of momentum, I got it down to 80 hours a week, and then down to 60, and then 40. And now we're sitting where my day job, I actually love what I do. But that I do that 12 hours a week now. And
Okay.
so, first of all, I got rid of Fridays. First of all, I got rid of afternoons.
Right.
Then I got rid of Fridays. And
Yeah.
now I got rid of Mondays. So I do a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday morning, 4 hours. Gets me up, gets me going in the morning, and then back on the UW bandwagon. I
Ah,
love what I do,
fabulous.
Stuart. I love what I do.
And I know you've got a family, so I'm sure that gives you much more time for the fun stuff in life, as well as doing some work around it.
Yeah. So it's great now having time to say yes. The time, because it's not just the money; it's the time thing. When you don't have time, when you like, they never saw me for a year
Yeah.
and a day that lasted. But now I can say yes. I'm pretty strict with my calendar. I value my time very highly, so I have things booked in for 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock or whatever, and I fit all of that around, but I've only got 12 hours where I'm effectively tied down, as I used to call it. I
Yeah.
was locked up in that job.
Okay. So imagine you're talking to one of your best friends and tell your best friend why they need to take a look at this. If they're really busy and they're thinking, I don't have the time, but I've got to change something, why do they need to look at this?
For that very reason, the fact that they're busy. And for me, when somebody tells me they're busy, I kind of get excited. I think actually busy people, they've not got I always think of time as people, as staff, as I used to have. So if I've got only 5 hours spare, it's like managing 5 people. I can do
Yeah.
that and I can be effective. But if somebody's got like 100, they're only doing 12 hours a week or whatever, they've got loads of time. You've actually got to be disciplined with that. So for me, when somebody says, yeah, I'm really busy, do you still want to be that busy in 5 years or 10 years? Because if you keep doing what you're doing, you're going to keep getting what you're getting. And the question is, are you happy with that?
Mm.
You've got to, these days, Stuart, and as much, if not better than anybody, you've got to have more than one income stream. Having a job is like old school. When I was at school, study, maybe go to uni or college. I wasn't smart enough for that one, to be honest. Get a job. I thought that was it once I got a job. It's changed now.
Mm.
And this world is very different. So having, as we call them, multi-income individuals, having a few streams where they all bring it together, but give you the time so that you're in control of that. That's important to me. That's very important.
Fabulous. Listen, anybody that's been looking at this today, thank you for your time. We really appreciate it. Mike, thank you for your time. If you've seen this and you think now you need to find out more, get back to whoever invited you to watch it. If it was Mike, get back to him. If it was me, get back to me. Or if anybody else has sent you the link, then get back to them and let them know, actually, I need to take a serious look at this. Let me talk to you. Thanks very much, Mike. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Stuart, for the opportunity. Thank you.